Fantastic, guys. We are at the small group session of the training. I'm going to be speaking to you guys on how to lead amazing small groups at Ignite Youth. So whether you're going to be playing a supporting role to a small group leader or you are the main leader, you need to know, well, why small groups? So before we specifically focus on Ignite small groups, we want to actually talk about what is the vision for life groups at New Life Church, because that is the equivalent of our small groups. So we have in Acts 2, verse 46 to 47, that every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. So this is when the early church was beginning. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. So these two verses explain the model that the early church was using. They had large gatherings in the temple courts, and they had small gatherings in their homes. And it was through this strategy that the Lord was able to add to their numbers daily, and the early church exploded with growth. So we want to experience this same growth with our adults here at New Life Church. People are also more likely to stay planted in a church if they are connected in a life group. And that is the reason we follow then the same model with our small groups at youth and even in our kids' ministries as well. So instead of happening at home in a life group, we do small groups here at youth on a Friday evening. They are an essential part of youth. So you may have heard this saying before if you've been around for New Life Church for a while. Sorry, I keep forgetting it's that way. It's such a habit to point back. Okay, so we learn in rows, but we grow in circles. Yeah. So in other words, we learn from the message that's being shared up front while we're sitting in a row. However, it's very easy to either forget what was said, possibly to not understand something, or not actually move from hearing the word to doing the word. Yeah. So this is why we need to be seated in a small group afterwards so that we can help the teens to avoid this and encourage them to grow. So James 1:22 says, do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. So many times applying the word requires courage, and these teens need someone to cheer them on as they step out in faith, because being a teenager is not easy. Yeah. So we are coaching these teens to be able to learn how to apply what they hear and read on their own as well. Because one day, all of the teenagers here, they're going to be stepping out of youth, and we are going to need them to have a firm foundation established so that they can stand strong as they face the world, and so that they can continue to build their relationship with God. So small groups are the way that we will ensure teens are pastorally cared for and growing in their discipleship, because they've been allocated to a leader to check up on them, support them, and intentionally grow them. So when we're checking up with teens, this is just a simple casual conversation. Hey, how you doing? How are things going at school? It's the small talk that you're going to be doing with them. Yeah. But sometimes that small talk leads to them actually opening up. And that's where the support comes in, because it gives you an opportunity to provide them then with extra encouragement. One of the best times to be able to build strong relationship with teenagers is when they're going through a crisis. You might spend 6 months trying to get through to a teen, but if they're going through a good season in their life, chances are you're not going to manage to connect as deeply as when that crisis hits. If you've been there and they come to you and ask for that assistance, that relationship will change within the space of a week. And then you also then have the opportunity to intentionally grow them. So this takes thought. This is not something that we just randomly show up and do. And so this is one of the reasons why we are specifically training you guys as small group leaders. It's also important to know that your role as a small group leader goes beyond a Friday evening. You've been entrusted by God and the leadership of New Life Church to oversee these teens and to shepherd them. This is an important role, and we're going to equip you to do it well. But please make sure that you ask, and we'll gladly assist you. You don't have the excuse of saying, but I wasn't sure. I didn't know I could ask someone. I'm telling you now, go for it. Please come with us to us with questions. Proverbs 27 verse 23 says this, "Be sure to know the condition of your flocks. Pay careful attention to your herds." So with that, I want to start with us. In this verse, firstly, know the condition of your flock. It's going to take effort from your side. Then secondly, give careful attention to your herds. It's going to require something of you. You're not going to be able to serve in a ministry that's pastoral or with teenagers if you're trying to keep a distance. You need to connect with them, be closer. It's going to require that you pour out. So with this, you need to remember that it is a privilege to be able to lead a small group and a responsibility that has been entrusted to you. We get to do this. We're here because we want to be here. So we need to make sure that we're constantly reminding ourselves on a regular basis of why we do what we do and that we get to do this, because else it's going to become difficult. And teenagers are brilliant at sniffing out people who are fake or inauthentic. And so you need to make sure that you are your best genuine self serving God when you come here on a Friday, because you are leading them. Too often, people think that, okay, I'm not really making an impact, I'm not having an influence just because I'm maybe here on a Friday serving behind the tuck shop or whatever. Because you are in the building at that time and because you have a lanyard on, you are a leader to these teens. So it doesn't matter what position you're serving in or what your role is, you're leading. And then it's a responsibility. It's going to take effort from your side. It's going to take you actually giving something of yourself, as I mentioned, to do what God has called you to do. This is not a ministry where one can just show up and kind of go with the flow. There's going to be things that you are required to do as you lead your small group. And it's been entrusted to you. We didn't just suck out of our thumbs and be like, okay, cool, I think I'm going to put this person with this small group or this person with this co-leader or this person on crew and not a small group. With that, it's very carefully thought through of where we are allocating people so that you can not only best fit in with your group, but even if you're with a co-leader, if someone has been leading for a small group for much longer, we put you with them so that you can learn from them and the experience that they have gained. So with that note, with small groups being our main area of discipleship, you need to remember that you are a disciple. So the Greek word for disciples, mathetes, means to be a learner, a student, or an apprentice. This is a word that is coming back into church circles a lot more at the moment and very important to take note of. One of our lecturers at SALT said in his one book, he said, the master-disciple relationship was one of learning through devoted servitude, companionship, and imitation. So to break that down quickly, devoted servitude. To be devoted means to be loyal to something, to love it. Being at youth requires commitment and consistency, especially as a small group leader. Because if you want to build that relationship with teens and be able to serve them, you need to be here over and over again and just constantly show up. The same thing obviously then applies with your relationship with God. You need to be devoted to serving Him. Because yes, it's fun to connect with the teens and everything, but at the end of the day, we're doing this for God and our relationship with Him. Which brings me to companionship. So with companionship, it's not just only serving, only doing, but it's being with God, connecting with Him, having that communion and that fellowship. And then imitation would be doing what God does, so learning from the life of Jesus. Or, for example, as Paul put it in Philippians 4 verse 9, whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. So my question for you then is, who are you following? We're all following someone, whether we know it or not. And so if you're now in a leadership position and you're following the wrong person, well, then the person who's following you is going to be led astray. So we're going to make sure that we're following the right people. So please make sure that you're growing yourself in your faith, in the Word. As Nathan already mentioned, attend church events, attend life group or young adults, because it's very important that you are being built up. But also, when we advertise every Friday evening in our announcements that there's church on Sunday, if we're not showing up, well, then why would our teens show up? So it's important that we are doing what we are actually telling the teens that they need to do as well. And then ask for help, but not only just with your small groups. If you guys are struggling personally with something, please reach out and ask Nathan for help. Speak to Adele, speak to one of the core team members. We are here to support you as well, because we're not just only here to grow the teens, but we're here to grow us as leaders as well, and to help us grow closer to God. So you are a disciple, and then also we're making disciples. So Matthew 28, verse 19 to 20, therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you to. So again, we're raising disciples to follow Jesus, and our key goal is obviously to enable them to accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior, to have eternal life, but also, we get to be raising the next leaders. We get to be raising the people who are going to make a difference in our community. And so even though some people might view youth ministry sometimes as it's just something on the side, it's maybe not as important as Sundays or whatever the case may be, that is incorrect. It is so important, youth ministry. We need to know that we are building into the future. And so when we stop focusing on where we're going and how we're building into these teens, it can become very discouraging. So to get more practical then of how we're going to work through this, before Ignite even has small groups on a Friday, during the week when questions get sent out, please go through them so that you can be prepared for them. Especially, we try and make the questions so that they kind of can hit every group, but how grade 8s answer questions versus how matric answers questions are very different. And so you can actually tailor-make the questions to what is needed for your group. So please go through those questions. And then also invite your teens to youth on the WhatsApp group. Post out those reminders that get sent so that they can also invite their friends, and also so that they know you are thinking of them. Is it not clicking? Or is it clicking too fast? Okay. There we are. Thank you. Okay, and so then make sure also you're connecting with them before the program. So in our connection time that we have, hopefully with Dream Team now coming on board and the teens taking some responsibility to help serve, it means that we'll have time to connect with them. One of the reasons I absolutely loved being on registration on Fridays was because I could have a teen who would walk to the end of the line. If she was one of my small group girls, by the time she got to the front of the line, I knew exactly what she was feeling and going through. And so using the small opportunities here in the time that we have to connect with them before going into worship can give you a very idea of what your small group's going to be like. So you can start already mentally preparing yourself before going into it. Then make sure that you're between them in worship and in the message. This is also very important to pick up how teens are feeling so that you are able to see what's going on. Like if you can see, okay, this person's on their knees in worship, they are crying, maybe that's then the reason why they are keeping quiet in small group, because they're just processing everything. You can then have the opportunity, if you see someone super distracted in worship, to then address it later with them, or whatever the case may be. There's so many cues that you can pick up on during the sermon time as well as worship time that you can then use to benefit you in small groups. And then also please make notes. So as whoever is preaching or as the video is going on, please just make notes of what you think that the teens might not completely understand. So maybe, for instance, because we're doing the Alpha course, they don't necessarily understand an American or British reference that was made through the videos. Okay, then you can make a note to explain something more later. Or you specifically know that, okay, my group discussed this last Friday. It's not in the questions, but now it's come up in the sermon. Let's focus on that. So yeah, please be wise with that. Then we have leading discussion. So use then the questions that work when you are in your small group time. Normally when we've typed out questions, I've tried to send out about 5 questions. The goal is not quantity, the goal is quality discussion. So if you only get through 1 question, but you have really good discussion, that's perfectly fine. Or if you get through one question and then you know there's something else that you want to review from the previous week and get feedback from, maybe you gave the teens something to do in the week, go ahead, please do that, so that you, for instance, not saying, okay, cool, this week we're going to make sure that we are doing a kind deed to someone, but then no one ever follows up on it because they're not going to do it then. So that, then talk less, listen more. Try work on a 20-80 principle, 20% talking, 80% listening. You will obviously need to read your small group. There are times where you'll need to talk more because you might need to explain something to them, but as much as you can, listen to them. So that also then goes into use discernment. Example, last night, I know Madeleine said like the grade 8s in her group were really restless. And so in those moments, it's good to know, I can't take them into super deep conversation here because it's not going to work. Or there might be an evening where there's a smaller group, and so you can take the group into deeper conversation. So things like numbers, things like how people are feeling, things such as what even events had been on at school that day. All of these things are factors that can influence how people are feeling in small group and how the teens are going to respond to you. Exam time, teens do not like discussion much. They zone out. To get anything out of them is very difficult. And so sometimes we actually just need to have fun with them. Then also be vulnerable, but by this, I don't mean share your entire life story and pour everything out to them. You can still be authentic without being transparent. So if you're having a bad day, you can tell them that. That's not a problem. But how I, for instance, have a conversation with Lexi or Zona about what's actually going on in my life is going to be very different from how I'm speaking to my teens about that. So we do want the vulnerability, because if you're vulnerable, then hopefully they will open up and be vulnerable as well. So then also read your group, read what emotions they're feeling, the underlying things that might be going on that maybe people aren't saying. This takes time to learn as a skill, to be able to, and also getting to know your teens to be able to then pick up on it and go, okay, great, I know what is being thought, felt, okay, fantastic, let's do this. And this leads into the next thing about speak about hard topics. So sometimes we as the church are going to be the only people who are going to address a certain topic and give them good biblical foundations on it. They might not be getting it home, they might not be getting it at school. They might not, their source is most likely the internet or social media for where they get information. So we can't shy away from hard topics, but we need to know how to speak about hard topics. Because again, how the grade 8 girls are spoken to about a really difficult topic versus how, let's say, the matric boys are going to be spoken to is not only a different thing in age, but also different between guys and girls. So it's very important that we learn how to bring topics about, and again, what the teens are feeling in that group environment, how much time you may have left in small group before you plunge into answering questions and then going about it in the best way possible. Then we have address talkative or distracting teens, because if one person is not paying attention and is talking to their friend, it disrupts the entire group. So let's call it out, nip it in the bud, ask them. And I've on occasions had teens that I've asked several times in small group to please stop talking or listen answer the question, whatever the case may be, and they've just carried on, and then I've had to take them out and have a conversation with them and say, listen, what's wrong, what's going on? Is there anything bothering you? First finding out how they're doing, and then saying, listen, what you're doing by distracting the other people is taking away from them learning valuable things about God, themselves, or whatever we are discussing at that time. And then prayer requests and praying. Please do ask your teens if they have any prayer requests. Many times, they also might not want to share what they really want to be prayed for about if it's a group setting. And so, especially with our series at the moment, there hasn't really been much time to ask about prayer requests at the end of the discussion. And so I actually use it as a way, then I send my teens a WhatsApp and say, hey, listen, we didn't get to ask about prayer requests last night. Is there anything I can pray for you? And then I've got it written down, which is a bonus because it's so easy to forget what you're praying about, and then actually follow through and pray for them. So pray to end off your small group on a Friday evening, but also then please pray for them in the week because you are doing spiritual battle. Then, welcoming new teens. Nathan already spoke about learning their name. Please make sure that you get their cell phone number as well so they can be added to the WhatsApp group. And then make sure that you send them a message as soon as you've got that number. So if you don't have time on a Friday night, please try do it sometime on the weekend so that they are well connected then with you, and it's an immediate after effect. And then also make sure you're connecting them with others. I had a really cool moment last night, and champion Mersha for this, because I was sitting at the table talking to one of the girls in grade 10 because she didn't have anyone to talk to. And so I said, hey Mersha, this is so-and-so, and I need to learn that girl's name. And so with that, then Mersha connected with her, and so now automatically she knows someone else. So our goal is to connect teens to God, connect teens to their leader, and connect teens with each other. Then we have building connection. So consistency is key, showing up Friday after Friday after Friday, asking them questions, getting involved in their life is definitely a great way to start with their interests, but as you go, build up that relationship. Don't just leave relationships as surface-based relationships. So as you go with them, start asking deeper questions, start asking more challenging questions. How you talk, like for instance, if you're messaging teens, a WhatsApp group message, that's purely there for general encouragement for the whole group and posting out the announcements for Ignite. But don't ask them on the WhatsApp group, hey, how you guys doing? Because they're probably not going to reply, or they're going to give all the same answer. That's where you can send them separate messages to ask them deeper questions, really connect with them, find out about their interests and stuff. Obviously, the same applies for being in person on a Friday. Take photos with them. I know the girls especially love photos. It's a great way to bond with them. Not only are you bonding with them in the moment, but then when you post it on social media as well, it's a great way to get conversation going there too. It's actually not on here, but try get their social media details so that you can follow them as well. Show them love. As sad as it is, there are many teens who come here who are not coming from a loving home, who are really just struggling with even friendships at school, being lonely, and so this might be the only place that they are being loved.
I'm just switching off because of load shedding.
Oh, right, okay. And then please organize socials if you can outside of youth to spend time with your teens that way. Post encouragement on the group, and if you can, get to know their parents. It's an absolute winner to be able to connect with the parents as well, because then we are not only just reaching the teens, but we actually are able to reach the family too. And then pastoral care. Send weekly direct messages. I try and rotate between 4 different things. I ask for prayer requests. I'll send them an image with a Bible verse the next week. The week after, I'll send them a YouTube link with a song. The week after that, I'll check in and say, hey, how you doing? So there's different variety, because if you're trying to have a conversation with them every single week of going, hey, how you doing? It's going to get very tiring for you if there's a lot of teens in your group, but also they don't always reply, unfortunately. So it's sometimes much easier just for them to get a Bible verse. Yes?
All right, those last 2 things, say was the prayer request, the YouTube link, image with a Bible
Yes, and how you doing? Yeah. Sorry, that's not written on my slides. I was looking through the slides for now. And then with regards to pastoral care, it's also very important that you make notes of important events happening in their lives. So if you know, for instance, that they have an athletics meet coming up, make a note of that event. Even if you can't necessarily be there to support, let's say it's outside of Mossel Bay, you can at least message them and say, hey, good luck for the event today. And so even things like very important one, if one of their family members or a close friend passes away, if you can make a note of that date and a year later on the anniversary of the death, send them a message. One of the best places to support people in ministry is when others pass away, because it's a way one can connect on a much deeper level with them, and it's very, very important. Also, birthdays, it's also a great way to connect with them. Try and remember what they tell you as well if you're having a conversation with them. Sometimes it might even help to write notes of what they've told you in a conversation after a Friday night so that you can bring it up again at a later stage and ask for feedback on that. And then organize extra meetups with them, like one-on-one if needed as well. So then finally, Colossians 3:23-24 says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Colossians 3:23-24. So most of this stuff comes out of that leader's guide we gave to everyone printed a while back. So if you haven't yet received one, Nathan's printed more, so...
I'll have them ready on Sunday.
Okay, so you can get from him, it's mostly all in there. Any questions about small groups? So this was a very basic training in terms of the foundation of small groups. Is not going into specific detail about how to handle certain issues, but yeah, is there any questions at this point? Yes, Nathaniel.
Just regarding the socials, do we need
Yes.
consent from the parents? Or
Yeah, I think so. Nathan?
If you're transporting them, yes. It's good to get parental consent if you don't have to let them sign anything, but if you're transporting them for your safety, have an indemnity that they sign. I know that is complicated, and we're like, but nothing's gonna happen, life happens. But yeah, if you're just meeting up at a place, you don't Lauren doesn't go message every single parent when they want to meet up at Spur, or winning, you just organize it. But like she said, it's good to know the parents. It's good to say, to then drop a mission, be like, hey, we won the lip sync battle, we're just taking all the girls out for Spur. Don't worry, it's on the church type of vibe. That is very, very helpful. And it builds connection once again.
Yeah, it is sometimes difficult to organize socials with people because they want to do it and then people very often don't pitch for them. So I've got to a point with my girls, I say, if you want to do a social, I'm all on board. You guys organize and, I'll make it happen. So it will really depend on your group if they are keen for it or not.